the first fight that you did, I don't think a lot of people realize like what you went through, and then that the fact that you know that you guys didn't get taken care of. You know.
No. So I mean, it stands for me. I believe it stands for Thor as well. We didn't get paid anything from that fight.
That's insane.
Nothing.
Welcome to the Shawstring Podcast, Mr. Edward Hall. You are here.
Thank you, Brian.
And you're in the hot seat.
It feels quite hot.
Does it? It was because I was over there sitting in it before you got here.
Is that why it's moist?
Yeah, possibly. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah?
I'm doing good. It's been cool. We've been hanging out for a few days.
We have indeed.
I've been cooking your food and looking after you. It's been good, man.
Is that right?
Enjoyed myself. It's been good.
Did you just say you have been cooking my food?
Yeah.
And looking after me?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I'm a good friend.
Are you going to stand behind that statement?
Uh-huh.
You are?
Yeah.
Is that just because you told your wife this morning that was what you were doing when it was completely not true?
No. And also, just to clarify so everyone knows, I bought you a cheesecake last night and you didn't even say thank you.
All right. Let's tell the truth about the cheesecake story. Okay? So Eddie and I last night are like, all right, we're gonna get some takeaway, or as you would call it, delivery, whatever you want to call it, right?
Uh-huh.
So we're going through and everybody's picking out what they want, talking about it. And mind you, on this little trip, whatever you want to call it, that we've taken together, every time I have got cheesecake, which I believe was 2 different times, okay?
Yep.
I asked you and I said, "Oh, Eddie, you gonna get some cheesecake? I'm thinking about getting some cheesecake. How about you?" Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And offered. I put the offer out there, to the world.
Allegedly.
To you.
Allegedly.
Right? Last night, Eddie typed in, was selecting his order, added a cheesecake to his order, added one, did not inform me, right, that the cheesecake dessert order was happening. Mm-hmm. It arrived, and of course, what did Carrie say? "Oh, Brian, you got cheesecake," right? No, I didn't. I did not order a cheesecake, but you did, and then you somehow tried to spin it into you ordered it for me.
Yeah, and you didn't want it, so I had it.
Right, and guilted me into giving it to you.
That's a good friend. It's a good friend. Got you cheesecake. You didn't want it, so rather than let it waste, I ate it.
You did eat it.
Yeah, it was delicious.
It was so good.
It was honestly probably some of the best cheesecake I've had for a long time, Brian. I can still taste it now. It's like aftertaste from last night.
All right, so here's the thing. We're gonna get some cheesecake tonight then.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
To make up for it. Because that was extremely rude of you, is the point of this whole story. And you're proud of it. You're proud of it.
Did I not say, let's split it 50-50, we have half each?
You did.
There we go. End of story.
You did say that.
So I was a good friend.
You were nice, but it was not a real offer. It was one of those like, if you say yes to this, I'm probably not going to give it to you anyway. It was more like that. Like, that's how I felt. Not a genuine offer.
I think if you'd have said yes, I'd have probably stuck my finger in it like a scary movie.
But licked it first or something.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Now you want a piece of it? Yeah. That's how I felt. So I know you better than that, and that's why I said, no, Eddie, you go ahead and enjoy that, right? It looks like you really need a piece of cheesecake. Like you're really melting away.
I'm skinny these days.
Okay. Skinny's not a word that is associated with you right now.
It is.
That can't be.
Skinny.
It's not no.
Anorexic.
No.
Malnourished.
No. Malnourished.
Underfed.
Okay. Have you looked in the mirror lately?
I did.
You did?
Yeah. Look good.
Are you one of those guys that looks in the mirror and isn't honest about what you see? Like, you look and you're like, oh my gosh, I look great.
I have one of those distorted mirrors at home.
Oh, so it makes you look skinny.
It makes me look thin at the waist.
Yeah.
Big at top. And that's all that matters, Brian.
And so then when you go on the road, you just don't look in the mirror.
No.
That's
But
fair.
trust me, you should do it. You should try it. It's the best way to be. Just don't care about what anyone thinks. As long as you look good to you,
No,
comfortable in your own skin. That's what you should.
I mean, I know that you stopped caring quite a while ago about that, right? And in all fairness, right? I'm giving you a hard time about it, but people could learn from that, right? Not caring what other people think.
I've just got to the point. I mean, we're in the same boat in terms of like exposure, and it just got to the point where I just got that many comments of like commenting on my weight and whatever else. It's just water on a duck's back now. Like,
Being negative.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? They call them hate comments. I don't call them hate comments. It's just what's the right word? It's like people that are struggling in life. I think if someone's got to come onto your profile and say something horrible or negative,
Sure.
I just look at it and I'll be like, yeah, there's something going on in their life. Like, I feel sorry for them.
Sure.
Move on. It's like water. Honestly, it's water on a duck's back to me because I'm just so used to all these people that are in pain coming and expressing themselves. It's
Well, it gives you it gives everybody a platform, right? Like you can say what you want, you can do what you want, post what you want, respond to a post that you put up or I put up or whatever. And those negative comments for people, it's I think you're hitting the nail on the head, right? Like something else is going on there probably if you're going to take time, because I can honestly swear on everything, I have never gone on anybody's post of any level and said anything negative.
I don't think I have.
Right? Like it's one of those things where I think, at least for me, I was taught at a young age, okay, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? Like what if let's just say you put up a post that I really dislike, which you do often, right?
Yeah.
I could scroll through it and be like, oh, look at Eddie. I could make a comment about that, right? Or I could just ignore it, which is fine,
Which
right?
is the much easier thing to do in life.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because you get into it and then you start to talk about, and I think right now people, for example, especially here in America, free speech, right? Free speech is a big thing, right? So you should be allowed to have free speech.
Yeah.
And it's oftentimes the people that come out and say that, then if you disagree with what their thought process is, what their agenda is, whatever, now you need to shut up and be quiet, right?
Yes.
So you can no longer have free speech because you don't agree. But in the moment, it's like, it's so easy to say, oh, go ahead and have free speech. We want everybody to have free speech. Well, if everybody has free speech, then that is sometimes people that talk like that don't realize what free speech is. So all those people that say negative things or do negative, whatever, it's more saying, right? Whether it's typing it out or saying it vocally, you're allowed to have free speech. It's just that you need to, I guess what I would say is you need to deal with or be ready to deal with the repercussions of what you say out of your mouth.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
There's been a few times where people have said something like quite high profiles, have said stuff on my post and stuff. And I won't say anything. I'll just leave it and I'll just address them in person.
See, that's awesome.
And I don't give a shit.
How does it go?
They usually shit themselves.
Yes.
Like they're usually like,
yeah,
and they make some excuse as to why it was just a joke, or I didn't mean it that way, or
Yeah.
So it's quite funny, but
no, it really is. And most people, and I found this too, because there are people that, in one roundabout way or another, have said something, or I've heard that they've said something. Maybe it's more of a behind the back type of thing rather than a post or something, or a comment on a post. But you get around them, they're so two-faced.
Oh yeah,
right? Because they're never going to say it to your face.
The world,
right?
Honestly, this world is full of two-faced people.
Yeah.
And I'm sick to death of them, man.
Yeah,
I'm sick.
It sucks.
Mike Tyson said it best. Like, people have got just way too comfortable.
Yeah.
With saying shit on the internet and not getting punched in the face.
Yep.
And that's completely true, because if somebody stood there, let's take their comment off that Instagram post or whatever,
Sure.
and then put them in the room with you and be like, right, can you just repeat that sentence?
That's
there?
what you said.
That's what you said. Say it to my face now. And they won't.
God,
100% they won't.
That would, honestly, bro, that would be the best.
Yeah.
right? Think if you could actually do that as an experiment.
It'd be great. I think I might do that. I think I have done that. I won't say when or how or what, but I have done that once before to someone quite high profile, and it just proved my point.
No, that's awesome. That would be fun. I mean, just for if you could round up, normal people and track their posting. Let's just say somebody's saying something negative all the time or mean, right? Their mean comments, and just say like, all right, cool. We're going to bring you in, but you're just being surveyed or something. Yeah. Sit them down in a chair and ask them, okay, here, we're going to pull up on the screen what your comments are.
That'd be great.
About me.
Oh, that'd be so good.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful?
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
Could you imagine the squirming that would happen?
Oh, yeah.
That would be wild.
Thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's crazy. So how's 2024 going, man?
It's going okay so far.
Yeah.
I think obviously me and you had a bit of a downward spiral in our lives at some point for this. We you guys probably know we got offered an MMA fight.
Yeah.
All four of us, me, you, Mitchell Hooper, and Martin Ford, to fight each other, and the money was life changing. Like, we were given contracts, and there was no reason to think this was like a hoax or a scam or anything. It seemed really legit. So me and you dedicated 6 months of our lives to that purpose, and that came to a head in, was it the end of January, start of Feb?
Yep. Well, it's supposed to be February 17th.
Yeah, and
that was the date.
And I think we didn't actually get the news until like the 29th of January or something.
Yeah, they drug it on forever. Yeah.
Bastards. So yeah, I mean, that, like, coming back from that was quite tough because it put me a bit of a downward spiral, because it was just like deflated, like a lot to contemplate. Like, I just wasted 6 months of my life for nothing. You turn down hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of work. It's affected your business. It's affected your YouTube. It's just had this massive knock-on effect. It probably lost me, we're talking 6 figures easy, well in the 6 figures, well, and probably closer to 7. And that was a big hit.
Yeah.
And then sort of rebounding from that, I've carried on the fight training because I really enjoy it.
Sure.
And I've been talking to other promoters, so there might be some fights coming up soon. So just, keeping my sort of toes in the water, so to say.
Yeah.
But as soon as that fight was like announced it wasn't happening, it was just like, it was tough, man. It was trying to get back to some normality, get back to spending time with the wife and kids, getting back in the regime of doing YouTube content, because we just neglected so much. So
yeah,
I guess 24 has been a finding my feet again.
No, it's a good way to put it, man. I like, it's and I think if I'm being honest, I'm still kind of feeling that rebound effect myself, because this is something that I know for me, I didn't take lightly, right? And it was a serious decision at the beginning of it. But again, the money, the contract that was talked about and presented was real, right? And I was like, all right, well, I have no fight experience whatsoever, no formal training whatsoever. So I'm going to seek out, coaches that could help me and teach me. And, if I'm going to sign this contract to go do it, I'm going to do it in a very, very serious manner, the best that I possibly can, right? For a couple reasons, but you're walking into a fight.
Yeah.
So there's a very real chance that I could get hurt, that the person I'm fighting could get hurt very badly. And if I didn't prepare to my absolute fullest, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it the best I can, right?
Yeah.
So once I locked in on that, it's a different place that for me, I go in my brain, right? So it's a mission. It's everything I have to do. And it's not easy to get there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's not an easy thing to get to. And most people, I truly think, don't understand that, right? Like, when you lock in on something, you're like, I'm going to do it. It wasn't playtime. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go have some fun with this. It was not that. It was, I'm preparing truly for a fight, right? And that's the way that I had to prepare. So when I'm going to training, a lot of things had to be sacrificed for that, because as you know, I mean, for myself with strongman, I set everything up. especially after we had kids, where I could do all my recovery at home. I could do all my training at home. I had everything I needed access to. So I didn't have any drive time in between.
Yeah.
So for this, every training session for me, because of the location, was an hour or hour plus one way.
Oh, wow.
To get to, right? So it was not easy. So you're talking get there, train, and then drive back was at least at a bare minimum 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And most of the time it bled over into 4 or 5. Then I got to eat in my truck. So I'm packing food. Like, it was not a small, and then you're so exhausted also from training, right? So that it's not something where it's like, oh, I just went and trained, now I'll just jump right back in and like you then you got to do the recovery work on top of it. I mean, this was a major, and I guess the reason I'm going into all that is I had to go to a different spot in my brain to get ready for that, right? And it was a major sacrifice, not only for me, but for for carrying the boys too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that was so hard for me, because I thought in my head, look, I'm doing this to set our future up better, right? Like I'm making a sacrifice. I have an opportunity in front of me to set us up very comfortably, and all I have to do is go execute this, right? So in my mind, I'm on a mission. I'm preparing. I made a promise to carry to my family that, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it for real, and I'm going to be as prepared as I can be, right? So when you go to that type of spot and feel like you're in that position, especially as a man, right? You're the provider, right? That's the way that I look at myself. I know that you do as well, and it's a very important thing. So to get to that spot, and then you're getting into it, you're priming yourself to get ready for this, and then it starts to unravel a little bit. But you're already so far into it. And we talked on the phone throughout it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I would call you coming back from training. I'm like, bro, this is not easy. Like, do you think it's real? Do you think it, like, and at that point it's like, how can it not be?
Yeah.
Everything is there. And then as it unraveled and we get down to the end, finally the rubber had to meet the road, right? And it didn't come through. And I think the unfortunate part is, definitely for me, I know for you too, is I prepared for that battle that never got to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And then once it unraveled, I think the hardest part was everybody from the outside that was looking in, once there was a little bit of news trickle out about it, everybody's like, oh man, that wasn't real from the start. How did you not see it wasn't real from the start?
Yeah.
This is so stupid. Like, but we were in the middle of it preparing for this.
Yeah.
And when it unravels, of course it's hindsight 2020, right? So everybody on the outside's now saying, well, how stupid are you, Eddie? How stupid are you, Brian? Like, why would you get tricked? And then we also had, other guys where, I don't think, and rightfully so, like Mitchell Hooper, I don't think he stopped training for strongman at all.
I don't think he did, no.
Like, I think he was just willing to, if this came together, to take a risk.
Yeah, just go and take a beating.
Yeah, which would have been a major mistake on his part if it would have happened. But I think it just kind of got to a point where he wasn't, and to be fair, if I was in the middle of my strongman career, number one, I don't think I would have accepted it at all. But also, I would have never stopped training strongman either. Right?
Yes, yeah.
So
I mean,
it's a different spot that everybody went to.
Got to give it to Mitchell. Like, he never stopped his training. But,
So he made the right call in the end.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did. But end of the day, like, everyone's got a price.
Yeah.
On anything.
Sure.
Like, that kind of money will, to go and take a beating on live TV or whatever, I think I'd have done it.
Yeah. Well, and
100%.
It's the approach, but I think that, I guess what I'm getting at is mentally, it's hard to, and I felt like at the end of it, I felt like I let down people, right? Because there was a lot of people that were excited about it, understandably so, right? And then I had, my coaches, Cody Donovan, Vinny Lopez, Tyler Gates was like my main guy that I trained with, and I had Derek Wolf come in at the end, as well as the rest of the guys on the fight team there. I feel like they all sacrificed to help get me ready, right? And I felt like I let them down, but it wasn't my fault.
Yes.
Right. And that was a very hard thing for me to stomach, because those guys had sacrificed too to help me out and to put, put all of their training and everything they knew into helping me prepare and get ready, right? Like they put so much in, I put so much in, all of us did collectively, right? And then the sacrifice that obviously my family went through, like these are the things that impact me the most. And then on top of it, from a competitive standpoint, as a competitor, I wanted to go put the work on display. Like I really did. You train it again and again and again. And then it's like, well, I want to go do this, right? And then you don't get the opportunity. And then to get everybody that kind of mocked it or said how stupid it was or whatever, like there's the individuals behind it on that side. That's who is to blame for all of this, right?
Yeah. 2 guys specifically.
Yeah, 2 guys, right, that made promises, that put contracts out that never fulfilled their end of the bargain. And, it's a tough one. But, again, you can talk about, like you're talking about a financial loss, which I had to, and all of this. But there's time, like you're only allotted so much time in life, right?
That's what I said.
Yes. And you give up that amount of time and you don't get to put it on display. You don't get it, like there's nothing at the end of the line, right?
It's nuts. Like we're lucky if we live to 79. That's like the average lifespan for a male. So 79 years, and these motherfuckers took half a year of that. Just snatched half a year of our lives away.
Yeah.
Didn't even apologize.
No apology.
No apology.
Yeah.
Just bullshit. Just more bullshit.
Yeah.
So it was tough, man. And like you say, like it's the people around us. Like I had a coach and his son spent 5 sessions a week training me full time.
Yep.
Never asked for a penny, in the end.
Yep.
Just let it all go. But, and I felt so bad for them. My training partner, I hired a 6'9", 140 kilo training partner, and I broke his arm.
Yeah.
So I had to pay to get his arm fixed privately. And it's like, just stuff like this. It's like, people don't see that.
No.
All that time and effort and money that's just boom, just gone. But I'm kind of used to it. It's like it's been done to me twice now. So
yeah, I was thinking that. I mean, the first fight that you did, I don't think a lot of people realize like what you went through, and then that the fact that it wasn't really made public. That you guys didn't get taken care of. Like
no. So, I mean, it stands for me. I believe it stands for Thor as well. We didn't get paid anything from that fight.
That's insane.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like everything just fell through. That Segi TV that did the promotion for the fight.
Yep.
They just didn't pay. They just refused to pay.
So you guys were supposed to go do it and then get paid after.
Yeah.
Like right after, I imagine.
It was pretty. I'm going to say it because it's true. I think it was pussy behavior from the promoter. It was like, we can either do pay-per-view and God knows what we'll earn, or we can get this guaranteed money. It's nowhere near as much as what you'd like, but it's guaranteed. So the guarantee was 7 figures.
Okay.
And I was like, I think you're making a mistake, because I don't like the feeling of this.
Yeah.
I think we can make more money doing the pay-per-view. He played it safe. We went with this Segi TV. We did the fight, and then they just went like crickets. Just refused emails, just didn't take any calls, didn't messages.
Nothing.
Just now and again an email come through, money's coming next month. In the end, I think 6 months later, we took him to court. I think the Dubai promoter won. Took him to court in wherever. And it's like, okay, you've won. What do you want us to do? We've got no money.
So there's nothing there. Or they've already taken all of it or run away.
Whatever. They just basically scammed us. They got all that, they put that. I think the gist of it was that Segi TV did it to make the shares prices go through the roof. I think they did some jigging whilst the share prices were high.
Yeah. Got
rid of all the money and then refused to pay us. So they used us as leverage to get the share prices up, and I'd imagine screwed a lot of people over as well, not just us. But again, with that, like the money I spent on that fight, like that was 18 months of of training.
I mean, at that point, and I'm guessing all of it, right? Because you even put a ring in your basement, right? So you set up this gym basement because that's where you needed to train anyway during that like time in the world, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like that was a major investment, but of course you're making the investment thinking, well, it's all coming back.
Yeah. It was like, to me, it was money coming back. I mean, I spent so much money, man.
Yeah.
Cryotherapy machines, like a proper built hyperbaric chamber.
Sure. Not cheap. Yeah.
Sauna, cold baths, jacuzzis. I know it's like sounds like stuff. Oh, that's great to have, but it was stuff that like I needed to recover from this fight.
You're training as an athlete, and you have to be able to recover. And I'm sure the same is for Hafthor, right? Like, I mean, he goes and you're committed to training, but again, it's the like, I don't know if it. Well, I think that. I guess you can answer because I can't answer. What's better, right? For you to do all that training, actually go have the fight and not get paid, or to have it unravel? Because we asked for upfront money with ours.
Yeah.
And when that upfront money, and that's what made me feel better, because I obviously knew about your situation. I was like, if I do not get paid before, I'm not getting on a plane. I'm not going, right?
Yeah.
And that was very, very clear, very, very clear. And then that's what it ultimately, I think if we didn't have that in our contract, that they would have just drug it on. Okay, go do the fight.
Yeah,
we don't get paid.
I think you're right.
And so I guess it's what's better, right? Like the fact, I would say what we went through with ours is better versus what you did where you actually went and had a fight happen and then didn't get paid.
And then get paid, yeah. It's way worse.
That's got to just make your stomach drop, dude.
Oh, mate, it's horrible. Horrible. And as I say, I had 18 months of lost work. I turned down so much work.
Because you're focused.
Films, TV shows. I mean, granted, a lot of it was during the pandemic, but yeah, all that. And I hired 2 extra staff members. Like I hired a full-time PA. I hired a training partner. I was paying God knows how much for sparring partners on a weekly basis.
Sure,
it was insane. Like the money was just, and then I blew my bicep off. I had to pay, was it 20 grand to get my bicep repaired?
Sure,
it was just like, and the mental illness around all this going on and then not getting paid. It was just like, oh God, it was horrible, man. It was dark.
Yeah.
It was dark.
Well, you go, and this is, I think, the spot where I think this is what's important, to share, because people listening to this, I think it's for a lot of people, they just hear the news, right?
Yeah.
So like with ours, okay, the fight's not happening. Oh man, that sucks. And move on.
Yeah.
Right. It's not as simple when you've gone through it and built up to this and then had that kind of ripped out from underneath you, right? And it was a big commitment, a lot of time, a lot of lost time, a lot of energy, a lot of money, a lot of other stuff, right? But when it goes away like that, it mentally, it doesn't, like, you can't just snap out of it and be like, well, I just trained for 6 months. Right, I was getting ready for this for 6 months. I guess tomorrow I'll just wake up and be done with it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that you have to deal with mentally because again, as a competitor, true competitor, when you get into that type of mindset, you get that, because it's a dark place, man, right? Like people on the outside don't understand. I mean, and again, whatever. I have come to learn that I'm very different than a lot of people. Very, very different. And I want to talk about this with you too, because I know that we can have a conversation about that. But getting into that type of spot where you're prepared, and for me, this was different than any other strength competition I've done, because it's actually a fight, right? Like you can talk about like, oh, I'm going into a strongman contest. It's going to be battle, which it is battle, but it's a physical battle, you versus the weight or implement or whatever, right? It's not against another human being that has the capability of hurting you back, right? Or I have to also be mentally prepared for badly, badly hurting somebody, right? Yeah. And that's where I was going. And that was not an easy spot for me to get in my mind, but I was prepared. Right? Like every time I trained, there was a couple specific elbows that I was ready to throw. And I was thinking in my head, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I was like, okay, Martin Ford, his face is there. If I throw this elbow and his face, like his skull cracks, right? Like I have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm ready. I'm ready to throw this elbow so hard that I'm going to break his face. Right? But I was literally envisioning it with my training partner.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course you do.
And that's not like a lot of people that haven't, or you'd go into sparring and you're actually getting punched back. And it's like, how do you react to it?
Yeah.
Right? Like actually getting touched a little bit, right? This was good. It was actually fun for me to do, but also as demanding as the training was and fun as it was. And I am thankful ultimately, like stepping back for going through it, but you have to get to that spot where you're prepared to go in and fight somebody for real. Right.
Yeah, of course.
So that was hard, but stepping back, I think that touching on being grateful for it, I'm actually grateful for a few things, right? Because I like doing hard things. I like challenging myself in different ways. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's important even now. I mean, it's me getting up and jumping in the cold tub first thing in the morning or whatever. Like I like to force myself to do hard things, right? I think Joe Rogan has talked about this where he'll do hard things in his life, even though he could for sure live a life where it's like he didn't have to do anything hard.
Yeah.
Nothing, right? Mm. Everything's served to him. Everything is there. Like you don't have to do anything, but you stop. Like that's something that has to be worked on. And I do believe that. So I'm thankful for that because I had to jump in the water, right? And learn how to swim with fighting.
Yeah.
So that was good. Also from a protection standpoint for me, I've always been a big, strong guy. So I never felt like, oh, I don't know what to do or whatever. But now I really know what to do, right? So I'm thankful for that. So it's like I could walk in any situation and feel completely comfortable that I could handle anything, right? So protecting my family, again, as a man, I think that's important that you're capable of it, right?
Yes. Oh,
Not that you have to do it, but you need to be capable of that, right? So that I'm thankful for, and just the time and relationships that I did get to build with training partners. And so that's what I had to kind of ground myself in, being thankful for going through it, right? Mm. And I guess that's the why. It's like, all right, I had to do that. But then you try to build back from this mentally and say like, all right, now I've got to shift. And I've had kind of a hard time, if again, being honest, because I ended my professional strongman career in August.
Yeah.
And pretty much jumped right into this.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't, and maybe it was a good thing because I didn't go from like, well, I'm constantly preparing for strongman contests to I don't have anything to do.
Yeah. It could have kept you on that strongman road. You don't know.
Well, it could have. I don't think it would have, but now I'm almost kind of having like a double effect, right? Where, okay, my strongman career is done. And then, this fight, which again, for me was supposed to be a one-time deal. I didn't have any weird thoughts of like, oh, I'm going to go be a fighter for the next 10 years. Like, no. It was a one-time opportunity, one-time contract. That was it for me, right? You approach it, I think, a little bit different, which is awesome. But for me, it was like, I'm going to go get this done one time, get paid, and I'm out, right?
Yeah.
Like, and be thankful for the experience. So now that fell through, I'm almost at like a double low kind of, right? Where strongman's done, fighting didn't happen, right? Mm-hmm. Like I got majorly let down. And now you have to move on and figure out like, okay, well, number one, I guess, what am I training for? What's next? What's coming up? And how am I going to attack my personal training, my work? What do I want to do? Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, I've got some different thoughts, certainly, because I always am thinking of different things, but it's tough, bro. Like, it's very, very tough. And I don't know, like, if you want to, talk about coming out of strongman for you, maybe, and how that was different from the fight, letdowns, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of strongman for me, I mean, I said publicly I was going to retire. Like the day I won World's Strongest Man, I was going to retire, and I was a man of my word. And I got so much shit for that, and I still do now. Oh, you're a one-time champion, blah, blah, blah. You've only won one World's Strongest Man. Like, you could have stayed and done 2 or 3 or whatever. And it's like, you're pussy and all that shit. But, and I've never really said this publicly, but it was actually so much harder for me to say to myself, don't go back to strongman. because that would have been the easy option. Seriously. Like, to carry on in strongman would have been the much easier option for me. To just carry on with the weights and whatever else. It was so much harder. I had to really force myself to be like, just get rid of that bug. Like, just let it out your head. I used to see other people win competitions, the next World's Strongest Man, the Arnolds and whatever else. And I'd get that itch. And I'd said it was really hard for me to be like, no, like, you've done what you said, move on. And keep that sort of, the back end of winning the World's Strongest Man was, for me, very tough, because it was like you got this massive sense of euphoria.
Yep.
And then the next day, you're like, well, not the next day, but a couple of weeks later, you're back home, you know, wiping your kid's arse and taking them to school and doing the shopping. You're just back to normality. And that's quite a hard thing to take. And I think getting back to normality, to me, to some degree, was tough. So I guess I was lucky in a way, as I filled my time with a lot of TV shows. Like, I had Eddie Eats America, and then we started doing The Strongest Man in History. I mean, if you were on set with me, obviously, with that, but obviously I had other stuff on with the shows. I was away from home for like 90 days in a row, and I'd go home for one day, and then I'd fly out again for another 90 days. And I did that for pretty much 18 months, like solid. It was intense. So that kept me busy. So I was quite lucky in that way, as I had so much TV work going on that I didn't have a choice. You know, it was like, right, if I've said yes to this, let's knuckle down. That was like my new path, you know, getting into that kind of stuff. And then I was doing acting lessons once a week for like 2 years. And then I started landing film roles, like got a major role in a film, lead role, and then COVID hit us. And that just screwed everything up, man.
Yeah.
Like, just destroyed all that hard work, just gone.
Yeah.
It's like starting again after that. It really was. All those contacts, all the films had just dispersed, and the budgets had gone, and
Sure.
it destroyed a lot. And I think that was probably partly. I know The Strongest Man in History was that 2019? And I know we were talking about second season, but I think COVID was probably a big part of why we didn't actually get one in the end result.
I mean, it certainly could have played a role, man. You know, like, it's a tough thing, you know, and walking away from from a sport, for sure, once you've been at the top level and competed at the top level, right? Like, that's, you know, it's something for me that, you know, I mean, with strongman, I can honestly say I truly, truly loved it, right? Like, I got into it. I loved it. There was no, oh, I have to do this or have to do that. It's just, I like the challenge. I like the training. I really, really, really love it. And so for me, it wasn't, and I always said this, you know, throughout my career, it wasn't hard for me, right? Like, it wasn't hard for me to go train. It wasn't hard for me to, you know, really get into the work that was necessary, right, to compete. And for a lot of guys, it's not, they can't say it's easy. It's not easy for them, because it's like, wow, this is really, really hard, right? But for me, it wasn't hard, and going and competing wasn't necessarily that challenging for me, because I enjoyed it so much, probably, right? So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to prep for another contest. Oh my gosh, stop everything. It's my prep. It's like, no, I can be disciplined with my meals and get my recovery, get my training in, plan out. I've got this new set of events to get good at. I'm gonna make a plan, break it down. Like, so it was easy for me to kind of mentally go there and to do it. And that's, in all fairness, probably why I was able to do it so long, because it wasn't something I really despised, right? Like, it was like, this is what I do it well, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
And so it was and so to walk away, and I like you know, I called my shot, right? Like, I said, I'm done. I let everybody know I was done with it. And you know, last year also for me was very, very challenging, because I got a really bad leg infection at the beginning of the year. Yeah. Ironically enough, right after I had announced it was, you know, my last year of strongman, right? So I'm trying to prep, you know, at that point for World's Strongest Man and then Strongest Man on Earth. And it was like, those are my contests. But now I'm in the hospital and my leg, and you know, that's been a really difficult thing to deal with. You know, it's something that's like, I'm still having a hard time coming back from it. Yeah. And I trained, you know, through that. and it was a different mental spot, man, to go to, especially being my last year where it was like most people, and I got messages from people that had similar type of infections. They're like, I have no idea how you're in the gym. Like I couldn't even get out of bed for 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't even move. And you're in the gym lifting and training and prepping for a strongman contest at the very, very top level, right? So, you know, it's just stuff that you do and you overcome adversity, right? So like going through it, it was a challenge. I will say that. Like it was a challenge working through that. But also, I feel like I was able to get into last year great shape. Like I was in a really good spot, you know, like going in, you know, with World's Strongest Man. I like it's something with that where, you know, World's Strongest Man was a big letdown, I think, last year for me. And mainly because I got into this crazy stone off battle with Rauno Heinle, right?
Yeah.
Great stone loader. I knew that was what was going to happen. And it's the way that they set up World's Strongest Man with the stone off. And it's part of the rules. When you start the contest, you know it's possible. I think it's terrible for the contest, but they choose to do what they want to do. So I was shot by the time I started the final. And that was what was so hard, because if you walk into the contest with me at 100%, you start the final events, it would have been ridiculous, right? Like, and I know that, but your body can only do so much, right? And especially for me, you know, as I was getting older, later in my career, it's like, well, you put me in a stone off like that, and I have to go that deep in the well. Now, granted, at that moment, I was good, right? Like I could have lifted that stone all day. It was no problem. But the recovery from that, you know, I've always said, and I've told this to a lot of guys, you start the contest with a pitcher of water. If you think of that as your energy, and you only want to dump out enough to get through each event, and then save it for when it matters. Unfortunately for me, that pitcher in the qualifier at the end, that had to get dumped pretty much out, right, to make it in. So but I battled that. I guess my point is, like, I battled that adversity, came back, you know, and was able to win Strongest Man on Earth, which, again, you know, maybe that thing at World's Strongest Man lit a fire even more for me, but I was ready to rock. You know what I'm saying? So like I was able to build up to this really high level and call my shot, walk out of the sport on top, where I was happy, right? Like I'm really happy. And I can't say right now that, and I've been around the guys. I had some guys out training, you know, well, last week, I guess. And, you know, seeing them going through it, like I was having fun talking to them, having fun, you know, interacting with them. But in no way, shape, or form was I like, yep, I have an itch. Like, I want to be competing. Right?
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm really content with that, which was nice, because I wasn't sure, man. Like, you're walking away, and it's. I think walking away capable is also was a big thing for me, right? Like, I didn't want to walk away where I never wanted to walk away from the sport of strongman where people are saying, well, Brian can't do it. Right? Like, you're looking at me and like, man, he used to be able to do some real good stuff. But now it's like a shell of what I formerly was, right? And that was not for me, you know, I mean, whatever. You stay in the sport that long and you battle guys that are coming up and comers and the next big thing, how many different times, right? And stay on top. Like you're right there, right in the mix, right? Every contest you're still being talked about, like could win it, right? And that's where I wanted to walk out. So I think it's a good spot for me, but I was very content with that moment. It's kind of like the storybook ending, right? Like, you know, and again, you understand, because it's like I won, I walked away, right? And I'm done. So, I mean, it's, who knows right now at this moment, I'm saying I'm content with it, but you know, you always have this competitive fire, right? That flame that's just there that you need to satisfy in some way, shape, or form. And so it's interesting to hear you say like you had an itch to come back a couple different times, right? How serious were you about trying to come back or not?
No, none at all. But it's just.
But you thought it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, being at I remember being at World's Strongest Man like 2018, 19, and probably 20 as well. And I was like, I could still walk in and be top 10. Like without even training strongman, I knew what I was capable of, and that was just that itch. But there's a big difference between top 10 and first place. Like that is a huge. People don't realize that the difference from 10th to first. You are talking. It's hard to put a level on it, but it's such a huge difference. Like,
Yeah.
such a huge difference.
Yeah.
So for me to say I could come in top 10, which what was realistic for those few years after I retired. But yeah, to be able to be that number one spot, that's like life obsession. Like, you have to be all day, every day, thinking, eating, sleeping, shitting strongman.
Sure.
And that's what I couldn't go back to. It's a bit like yourself. I enjoyed strongman. I enjoyed the training. I enjoyed it. What I hated was I was just literally had no time for me or my family at all.
Sure.
Like an hour, 2 hours a week, if I was lucky.
Yeah.
Seeing my wife and kids. So that's what was the hardest thing for me is the sacrifice for family time that really made me retire, I think, in the end.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, still, I mean, and this is what you touched on there, is there is a big difference, right? Still being able to do it versus being the best.
Yes.
Right. And for me, I have zero doubt in my mind. If I wanted to go back for the next 5 years, I could make the top 10.
Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't be that hard for me. And I could do that because walking away right now, I have no problems, right? My shoulders are good, knees are good, back's good, hips are good, everything's good, right? Which is wonderful, right? And for competing almost 20 years, like being able to say that, but I could handle it, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't hard for me. So it's kind of, but that's not enough, right? So walking in and being in the top 10, that's not enough for me, right? And so people have asked me too, because technically right now I qualify to do masters.
Yes,
they're like, now you're done. Are you going to go do masters? I have zero interest in that, right? Do you know why? Because it's not the best.
It's not the best, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
I know that sounds horrible to say, but it's like, for me, it's you're in the sport, you've got to enjoy it firstly.
Yeah.
But then accolade is got to be the close second. And if you're going to give me a subtitle to the title, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered.
Well, and that's exactly it. And I understand now. Let's talk on the flip side of that coin. I do understand why to some guys that's important, right? But and that's maybe the best way to say it is for certain guys, maybe they haven't felt like they fulfilled their full potential, right? Or they're still chasing something that maybe they weren't quite able to do. This, I don't know, right? Or on the other side of the coin, man, maybe they just love it. They just love it. And they just want to say like, hey, you know what? I'm however old, I just want to go after it. I just don't fit in that. For me, I can only talk about it for me. I don't fit in that category. Yeah. Right? I fit in the category of if I'm not the best, and I don't have a legitimate shot of being the best. Yep. I'm not interested. Right. Because I'm too competitive. I can't accept that. Yeah. It doesn't work in my brain. Right. And so that's, people have said that. And now granted, I can only speak for this moment right now, but I've always been that way. Yeah. I've always been that way about winning, right? Like it's got to be there. I have to, whatever. I have to get into it to win, and that's just the way it is.
Yes.
So
yeah. No, that's a fair comment.
Yeah.
There's loads of like you could go. You could. There's loads of different competitions you could do, isn't there?
Yeah.
Loads, like America's Strongest Man. You could do the Masters over 40s.
Yeah. Well, I think 40s, 50s. You could compete forever if you want.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? But it's just different, man. And the approach from a competitive standpoint, and I think this is something else I just want to talk to you about a little bit, is this competitive mindset, right? Because growing up as a kid, and again, I don't know. I want to hear your answer. Do you think the competitiveness that you had and still have, right? Do you think that was just born in you, or do you think it was more bred into you?
I think it was bred.
Okay.
I really do.
Explain.
I think having two older brothers was my main, competitiveness, because I was the youngest of three brothers, and when you're the youngest, you get the scraps, you get you get left behind in anything physical.
Yep.
And I think that for me was very frustrating. like not being able to keep up with my brothers in size, in strength, in running, in anything, swimming, whatever it was. And that for me, I'm going to say like age 4 or 5, that started to kick in where it's like, I couldn't stand someone being better than me.
Sure.
So I think that's where it stemmed from. And that just manifested as I got older, as to like, I replaced my brothers in swimming, for instance, and my brothers were then replaced with, you'd hear names down from other clubs, swimming clubs, or this guy's like the best in the country. And I'd be like, no, it's fucking not, I am. They'd sort of replace your brothers. And then, the Michael Phelps, like, right, I'm going to beat Michael Phelps. And then you get into strongman and you're competing, I guess that, and that's a good point actually. So like training in the gym, like if someone was lifting more weight than me in the gym, I'd be like, motherfucker, like I can't have this. So I would train my arse off till I became the strongest in the gym, big, massive commercial gym, like 6,000 members. The whole of Stoke-on-Trent, like 250,000 people went to this gym. And at like 17 years of age, I'm the strongest in Stoke-on-Trent. And then it's like, then that manifests. You start into strongman competitions, and then someone beats you, and that's like, motherfucker. It's like, it's a massive sort of manifestation of people replacing that competitive nature, and that's been the way my whole life, really.
So if you're saying bread, let me ask you this question. Your brothers were obviously raised under the same roof, right, as you.
Yeah.
Now, and I can answer because I had an older brother too. Losing affected me in a different way than it did him, right? So we would compete, but if I lost, it was the end of the world, right? I'm sure, I know it drove my dad crazy, right? Because it was just like, I'm throwing tantrums, and it just, that was the way it was. And again, from a young age.
Yeah.
But my brother, if I beat my brother, I mean, he might get a little bit mad, but it wasn't like the world had ended, right? So for your brothers, like, it sounds like you were like me, where it's like, if they beat you, if my brother beat me, we were fighting.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it was, right? Like, we're playing basketball, and he would often beat me. He's 2 years older than me. He's better than me for a long time, right? And I know he loved it, where he got his shots in when I was younger. But like, it would be like, I would, do something to try to fight him if he was beat, because I would get so frustrated, right? But it was just about winning and losing.
Yeah.
But for you, were your brothers the same way? Like, if you beat them at something, how did they react?
A little similar. Yeah, they'd get frustrated and
But to the level that you did?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not. And we would do stuff like that. We would fight, and then 9 times out of 10, because I was the youngest, I'd lose the fight. And even then, that would frustrate me. So,
of course,
fighting became a competitive thing between me and my brothers.
Sure.
Quite regularly, like almost on a daily occurrence. It'd be like fists would be thrown. Like so black eyes, broken nose, whatever else.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess my thing is, and it's a fair debate, right? Like, it's fun to have this type of conversation with you because I understand it. But it's and I know your brothers are competitive too. My brother's competitive in different ways, right? Like, so for him, he was the best at math, for example, like in the whole school. Like, he was doing things that people hadn't done. Like, he was at a level that was like unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And now still, mechanical engineer, did these things that it's really incredible in his field, right? Like, and very, very smart, where I could care less about math. I could not, like, I would do and I was fine. It was just, why am I sitting here and doing this entire math problem to come to this number, right? When I could be playing a sport and like, I get to put a score on the board, right? So, but your brother, like, I guess what I'm getting at, like, I personally think that it has to be something inside of you, right? And yes, probably the relationship with your older brothers and all that brought it out. But I still think there has to be something inside Eddie Hall that is this, just, you cannot satisfy this competitive, right? And if you lose, it makes you that mad.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, there has to be that somewhere in you. And it's fascinating to talk about because everybody's environment is a little bit different, but you know, I think that has to be something inside of me, right?
Of course.
But it's kind of fostered in a way by these situations, because there are people that maybe get a little upset by losing, but they just say, oh, well, whatever. Whereas like for me, for example, if I lost a basketball game, and this is just me, I would go out, and this is high school, right? I would go out and after the game, I would practice. Like I'd just go in the gym by myself. The crowd's gone, everybody's gone. I would just get a ball. And, you know, there was times where, like, for example, if I didn't make every single free throw, right? So like when you get fouled, you got to shoot free throws. If I didn't make every single free throw, I would go out there and make myself shoot like 100 of those or something, right? And this is after the game, right? Like I would just go out, and I was so, and not that a lot of my teammates, they were like, oh, I got dressed, leave, whatever. But for me, it like hurt me to lose. But in order to not lose, I had to then go do the work to get better. Right. So it's like if you lost the fight, or you lost the swimming, or you lost at this, like I would venture to guess that you probably in some way, shape, or form went and worked harder to be better. Right. Or somebody's lifting more weight than you.
Yes.
You're going to train harder. Right.
Oh yeah. Exactly.
Whereas it wouldn't affect, like some people might get frustrated, like, oh man, this guy in the gym is lifting more weights, or, you know, I went to a strongman contest and got beat, but I'm, you know, they don't have that. I guess what I'm getting at is they don't have that like innate fire where like they lost the contest, and now because you lost, you're going to go work harder. That person's like, well, you know, I did good, or I did the best I could do. Right. Which is totally fine. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those type of people, because there are in life, there are high achievers, and there's people that are fine with being mediocre. Right. They don't have it inside of them to be like, I'm going to be the best.
Yes.
Right. So that would be my argument back to you, is like, you're saying it's bred into you, but I think that some part of it has to be born into you.
I guess you're right in a way. Yeah, because like you look at the best sportsmen in the world, like Usain Bolt and Conor McGregor and people like that, they just cannot take it, and it's got to stem from somewhere. You know, maybe they haven't had older brothers or whatever to push them, but yeah, I think you're right in a way.
It's a fascinating thing, man. Like when you talk about top athletes and what drives them, and even I think even at the top level of any sport, there's guys that are naturally gifted, right? Just gifted, and that's the end of it. And then you've got the guys that are crazy hard workers, maybe not as naturally gifted, but I think when you get to the pinnacle of any sport, you have athletes that are insanely gifted, but also are insanely hardworking, and this fire propels them to be even better, right? Because you have to do something to separate yourself if you truly want to be the best.
Oh God, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, man. Like that fire, like where does that come from? And you know, it's a fascinating conversation, right? Because and I know that you've talked about this before with, you know, brothers, and I've said it before too, and I think that helped in a big way. But would it have been different?
Maybe that was the ignition.
Yeah, to set it off. And then your whole life as a child, it's like, well, I don't want to lose, right? And now what am I going to do to not lose?
Yeah.
Or to change the outcome, right? Like to control it the best that I possibly can. Like it's an interesting thing, man. But yeah, with the fighting that you potentially have coming up, what is that like, right? Like waiting, you know, because I'll talk about what I've got maybe planned for me too, but I just want to hear about like what is that like? Because I know for me, I kind of went through it a little bit because I wanted to satisfy that. I was like, well, what other options do I have to get a fight? Yeah. Maybe. And to put this training on display and whatever. And I did, you know, in all fairness, I did get one contract offered to me. Yeah. You know, to go fight that was legitimate. And I did turn it down because it didn't make sense for me. But what's it like? Because right now it's not like it's going to be easy for you to find somebody to fight you.
Right? Yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously there's very, very good fighters out there that would hand me my arse, hand you your arse.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, the top MMA guys would kill us in 30 seconds. That's a fact.
Yeah. I mean, not to cut you off, but the one thing that I didn't say earlier is the amount of respect that I do have for fighters after going through it. It's like this level, like training with like Gordon Ryan, for example, with the jiu-jitsu. It's insane. Yeah. Like the level, it's like you maybe scratch the surface and there's a whole nother level.
What I found is
there are definitely skilled fighters, but you go ahead.
Yeah, and when you're getting into that and you start getting in the ring with these skills, because I sponsor Tom Aspinall, the UFC #1 right now.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed enough that, you know, once every couple of months, I'll ring Tom up, be like, right, let's get a sparring session in, bro. Sure. And I will go and spar with Tom Aspinall.
What does he walk around at body weight? Like
around about 120 kilos. I think it's like 250, 260 pounds.
Okay. So he has to make weight at 265, right?
Yeah. So he's he just sits at that weight.
So he doesn't have to cut in. No. Got it.
I don't think so. If he does it won't be much.
Got it.
And he's tall, 6'6", maybe 6'5". But yeah, like just getting in the ring with Tom and doing the sparring and that, it's like there's levels to this. And like, you just got you have to be so comfortable being uncomfortable. That's the best way to describe fighting. Yeah. Because it is, as soon as that bell goes, you're just uncomfortable. You've got pressure, you've got people punching you in the face, you're breathing, you know, you got to think about your movement and agility. There's just so many factors.
Oh, it's wild.
And these guys just make it look so effortless. Like, I've done 5 2-minute rounds with Tom Aspinall, and I've like gone at him hard. Like, we've been going at each other hard. Like, that's how it feels anyway. And then you look back on the footage, and Tom's not even breathing heavy.
He's just comfortable.
He's just so comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting this pressure on him, you know, I'm punching him in the face, I'm ramming him against the cage. And you watch the footage back, and he's just... You're just like, how can that guy be so comfortable with someone my size banging at them and pushing them and pressuring them?
Dude, that was one of the hardest things for me was breathing.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get tight and you're like everything.
And do you know what?
If you can take one breath.
Sorry to cut you off, Brian, but that is probably one of the worst things of coming from strongman to fighting, because we are so used to lifting weights and going, and that, it's like such a bad habit for fighting, because you throw a punch and then you're taking punches. You're not breathing.
Nope.
So it takes a while to get used to that.
And that was something I really had to work on. I really, really did. Like it was like, all right, just take a breath, right? Like any time where if you and I could get at a distance where I'm safe and I can just do just one time. Yeah. That gave me so much more energy, right? But and this is also with with the grappling. So if I got into a position where I was on top, especially, there's no need to be doing that, right? Because I get to use now my body weight, right? So, whatever, 400 plus pounds laying on you, and I just get to breathe while you're straining the whole time, like, oh man, get off of me, right? Yeah. But it's such a huge advantage if you can breathe. But also I had to think about it actively, like it's time to breathe. You got to take a breath, right? And so that was something that we definitely worked on, but it's wild. You're right though, because you're straining. So you think like you're so conditioned to lifting heavy that's what you do. Yeah,
you hold your breath.
Yeah, and it was exhausting.
Yes,
I remember getting into like pad work, right? And I thought, oh, this isn't going to be too bad, right? I'll just walk in and I'll hit some pads, whatever, bro. I was dead tired, but it was like the whole time, and you're like, man, this can't be this exhausting, right? Yeah. And it was like the hardest work.
This is like, I find this hilarious because like you do your sparring, you do your fighting, and I find it absolutely hilarious in the comment section of fights. Yeah, I honestly piss myself because everyone's got an opinion like, keep your hands up, or why'd you do that? Oh, I could batter him. And until you've I just empower everyone, just get in the ring for 2 minutes with an experienced fighter.
Oh God, yeah.
You will literally have a heart attack.
Yeah.
They just have no idea how hard it is cardiovascular. It's not even about being fit.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen, for instance, like I remember I got a what athlete was he? It was a CrossFitter. So I got him to come in the ring with me, and honestly, 1 minute in, he couldn't keep his arms up. He was blue in the face because, again, it's like just don't have a fucking clue. Like, dude, fighting drains you faster than any aerobic sport on the planet. Don't care what anyone says.
No, it's wild. I was thinking for us, we were only training for 2 minute rounds, right? Think of 5 minute rounds.
Oh man.
The level of conditioning that you have to be ready for that is insane.
Yeah.
It's honestly insane.
Yeah.
And people watching on TV, you buy the pay-per-view, you're watching it, whatever. It's like, oh, why in the 4th or 5th round, why isn't he keeping his hands up? Or why is it?
Yeah.
It's like, you have no idea what that guy feels like right now, right? And he's trying to protect himself and still be aggressive, right? It's wild. Yeah. So the conditioning is like breathing, the conditioning, it's honestly, it's ridiculous. Like a whole new level. For me, like I said, I already enjoyed it and respected it, but once you do it a little bit, it's a whole different thing. And when you watch a fight, you understand a lot more, right? So but I mean, who are you going to find? And do you want to do MMA or do you want to do boxing?
So I'm happy to do both. Okay. I've been talking to some different promoters. Have you heard? I haven't heard of until recently, the Nafati brothers. So the two little kids from Poland or something.
I have not. No.
So maybe James can pull it up on the screen. And these guys have done a couple of fights. So they've been throwing some shade at me recently. And
interesting.
I'm like, no. So I sent a message.
So they're brothers.
They're brothers.
How do you spell it?
Neffati. Nafati brothers. We'll see. Are you going to pull it up? And
so they've been talking.
So they said someone sent me a clip of like them talking shit about me. So I sent them a message. It's like, bro, I'll fucking mince the both of you up. Keep my name out your fucking mouth.
Interesting. Okay.
And they've carried on. So I'm like, okay. So I think they want to.
Here we go. So do they have? Are they fighters?
I think so. I think they've done a couple of fights and MMA or whatever. But they're not, they're like, I don't know.
Maybe that on the right, James, is some type of fight training.
Oh, yeah, there we go. So they're like 75, 80 kilo guys.
Oh, it's all staged. Boy, they look tiny. Jeez.
Yeah, they're not big guys at all. Like 75 kilos, something like that. What's to say?
Are they being serious?
Oh, there we go. So, yeah. So these two. Yeah, they don't look big at all now. And I've seen them. That guy looks tall, but.
Yeah, but not big. Yeah.
No. Yeah, so.
So what are they, just staged videos like this? Like
must do.
Little reels.
Yeah, but they've done a couple of fights, I think.
How they really?
Yeah. So I have a feeling they've been prodding at me, and I'm like, set it up.
So you've gone back at them?
Yeah. So,
and they responded?
So I said, I'll mince you both up if you carry on. And they responded like, what the fuck are you going to do? I'm like, set a fight up. I'm like, I don't talk shit online.
Both of them at the same time?
Yeah. Like, I won't say anything online. I won't say any shit to you. So just private message. Let's set it up. If you want to fucking go, let's fucking go. I'll beat the fuck out of both of you. So that could be quite fun.
Do you have any idea what they weigh? No?
No, I think looking at them, 70 kilo, would you say? What's that like?
Yeah, like 150 pounds.
140, maybe. 150 pounds.
They're not big, bro.
No.
Yeah. So you're maybe going to do that?
Yeah, I think so. Just for a laugh.
So it's actually being talked about a little bit.
I think, yeah.
Interesting.
So they said they'll set it up, so I'm just waiting, see what they say.
So if you can't find a guy big enough and strong enough, I guess you take two guys. Two at once.
That could be a new thing.
Yeah.
Instead of doing because I say to find someone my size, it's like similar skill, it's just like not going to happen.
No.
So I think that could be something I do is just fight two people at once.
I mean, that would be interesting. Here's the thing. You just got to get one with a good shot at the beginning.
Well, that's
and then
it.
Hope the other one doesn't come around.
You get those, people won't get this as well. Like MMA, you wear those 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah. So would it be MMA or boxing?
MMA, I think this.
Okay.
Yeah. So with MMA, you wear 4-ounce gloves, and 4-ounce gloves, you might as well be bare knuckle.
It's not a lot of padding.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's not. It's literally just to protect your hand more than their face. So, if you punch someone with a 4-ounce, imagine you punching someone full I mean, that's a good point, actually. So we just went to the UFC center.
We did indeed.
And we tested punch power.
Yeah.
And I broke the record. I think Alex Pereira. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Butchered his name.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Pereira,
I think.
Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
I do apologize. Please don't kill me when I see you.
James is pulling it up here. It's that middle
So
one,
he had the record at 191,000, and me and you went, and I hit 208,000, which is like
it's
another 10% on his punch.
I mean, that's
and these guys
winding up here.
Yeah, like these, like all. Here we go, 208.
Yeah, jeez.
And you got to think these guys.
Honestly, and I hit that thing only a little bit. I was actually pretty scared because it's if you hit it wrong, you could easily break your hand.
Yeah.
But that's wild, man. I mean, you're hitting that thing dead on. But I mean, I don't think people realize the amount of power, right? And I think this is a big. I think people that have said, "Hey, why isn't there a division above 265 in the UFC?"
Mm-hmm. That's probably why.
I think that's a big part of the reason why, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is something, again, I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of power that's there, right? Like for two big guys to go, right? Like we were actually in the gym messing around just messing around, right? And you and I were kind of going at it, and I, grabbed you and picked you up. But just me picking you up, if I were to actually bring my hips through and then fall like down with you, like I'm at risk for sure, but you are too, big, right? Yeah. Like just the force of that landing is wild.
Yeah, that could like stop your heart.
Yeah. So for those two guys to be like, oh yeah, I want to come in and mess around.
Imagine that. It's a square on the button there. Like,
no, yeah. If you get that with one of them, they're not getting back up.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I'll pick him up and use him to hit the other one.
Yeah, that would be funny. That actually would be funny. Well, we'll see if that happens, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's just good fun, And
yeah.
I think it started a bit of a craze of like a 2v1 thing.
Yeah.
I think it's more, I prefer that. It's more, like, for me, it's more fun, and I think it's more entertaining.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go more down the arm wrestling road, man.
Arm wrestling.
Yeah, I've been flirting around with it for a while now. It actually was a little bit before the fight ever came about, right? So like I was thinking like, oh, I'll get out of strongman, maybe go down that road just because it seems like something that would be fun for me. And I've always obviously grip strength and wrist and all this. But there's a lot of technique in that, right? So it's something where walking into training MMA, there was a lot of technique I needed to learn there quickly, right? And I was really happy with the progress that I was able to make, right? So my coaches were really happy. I was also able to learn very, very quickly compared to, they were actually concerned about my learning ability within the fight game.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey man, we got to December and they're like, you're ready. Like if they said the fight was this weekend, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Like you're 3 months ahead of what we even thought you would be capable of. So I was really happy about that. But it's also, I like to break things down and learn them, So arm wrestling is a lot of technique. It's something that has to be built up, right? So there's been a lot of talk on the internet about me, getting into it, like what would happen, et It needs to be trained a little bit.
Of course it does. It's dangerous.
And it's probably going to take a significant amount of time to train.
Do you remember?
I am excited about it.
Do you remember backstage at, I think it was Europe's Strongest Man, 2019? Me and you had a little arm wrestle.
We were messing around. Yeah.
We were pretty even back then.
Is that right?
Yeah. But I think I'd snap your arm off, if I was being honest, Brian.
You think so?
Yeah.
Do you remember what happened in the gym the last time you came here?
Yeah. I let you win.
Is that right? Yeah. You let me win.
Let you win.
Yeah.
Let you win.
Okay.
So when are you thinking of doing your first match?
I don't know. I've got Devin Lorette coming to Colorado. We've been talking about this now for a while, right? So he had his big match against Levon here here at the end of April. I don't know when we're exactly put this out, but he got done with that, and you know, he said he needed a few weeks after that, understandably so.
Yeah.
Before he wanted to come in. I know he's got some stuff lined up, so we're just trying to coordinate a date, and then he'll come down and we'll have a good time. And I'm excited to learn, right? Like learn from him, learn techniques, and you know, Derek Smith came out here, who's a big arm wrestler here in the United States. He came out, and you know, him and I have gone back and forth talking a little bit more too. So, you know, I think it's just getting into that world a little bit and learning and kind of breaking it down, because that's when my brain starts to go, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like strongman, the same thing. Like I would break down events. I would figure out how could I do it better? How could I train for it? And this is also now where I need to go. But I think it would be fun for me because of that fact, right? So you have to learn these techniques. Where do you go if you're giving me something different? What do I counter with? Or where am I going to try to take you based on your weaknesses? Like that's the stuff I think in my head that would be fun for me, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to think about it. So and with strongman, I think a lot of people maybe don't realize, and there are competitors that don't think about it at all, right? But for me, I broke down every little component about everything and dissected it. How could it be better? Techniques. I'm doing a trial and error type of thing. Is this faster? Is that better? How do I pick this up? You know, like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then also with training, how do I break it down into parts to get better at all the parts, right? So for arm wrestling, I think it would be very much the same thing, except for now I get to test it out against you, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a road that's not going, like I don't have any thoughts of like, oh, well, you know, next month I'm going to go do this match and be one of the best at that. I think I have the ability, like I believe in myself, right? And I said earlier, like I don't get into something unless I believe I can be great at it, right? So I think that it's something that could be very fun, and also I could do for a significant amount of time potentially at a high level. So
I mean, so who's number one right now? Is it Devin or Levon?
Levon.
So how big is Levon?
So he is, I think he was just about 400 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big guy.
And I want to say he's like 6'3".
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's thick set guy. Has he done powerlifting or something before?
Constantine Janash is one of his friends. So they're both from Georgia, right? Yep. So Constantine next to him, Constantine is taller, right? And similar stature. Right. But Levon is about that type of weight. So I think he was around 400 pounds, give or take.
That's a big guy.
Yeah. So I would be 5 inches taller than him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, body weight wise, I guess it would depend on what I wanted to come in at.
What's his background, Brian? Is he just bodybuilding, powerlifting? What's he done before? Do you know?
You know, that's actually a really good question. I know he's arm wrestled for quite a while. Right. But I don't know what sports he did before.
Because as far as I'm aware, I don't see like anyone, like someone like yourself, like you can bench press a lot of weight.
Sure.
You can pull a lot of weight.
Yeah. Well, he's strong. I think he's bench pressed. He's bench pressed decent weight for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, it's I don't know exactly what type of weight, but I know he's bench pressed quite a bit. And you know, he definitely trains in the gym, right? Like it's not like he just does arm wrestling.
Yeah, you can
right?
see he's a big guy.
Yeah. And he's strong too, but I think what you're getting at is like the whole everything.
Yeah.
Like strength of your entire body.
I just can't envision like a world's strongest man, because obviously it's not just about the arm, it's about back strength, it's about twisting the hips, leg power, you know, lats, like pulling it down. So like you've got all the attributes to be the best in the world. Yeah. Just from being the world's strongest man.
See, I'm interested too with the leverage. So here's Levon and Devin from their match here. So he had him significantly.
Oh wow,
but
yeah.
That was not the first round. That was that was his last round, it looks like.
Right.
But I think Devin is somewhere around 200 and I think he was like 250 pounds. So Levon had him by what, like 130 pounds, 140 pounds.
Yeah, wow.
But Devin is taller.
So Levon is pretty similar to me, because I spec under 6'3", and I'm 365 pounds ish at the minute.
Yeah.
So what's he like? 375, 380? Doesn't look
think-
doesn't look 400.
Yeah, I think they said he was 180 kilos, so that's just
So
under
that's so what's that?
yeah.
Well, I'm 165.
Well, 180 is 396 in pounds.
Okay. Well, I'm 165 kilos, so we're not too far apart there.
Yeah. Well, then maybe I get you in the gym and rip your arm off. You know.
Well, I guess I was going to say, Brian, if I do, because I could do a bit of arm wrestling training.
Is that right?
Quite ready enough.
So
you fancy a match in about 6 months? Me and you?
In 6 months?
Yeah.
Do you think you could even get close in 6 months? Because I've already been doing a little bit in the gym. You saw the table in the gym.
Yeah.
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 And
I feel like I could do 6 months training.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to find out?
I mean, I think if we'll see if you're serious, we could line something up. Are you gonna fight? You're gonna fight these little guys first.
The thing is with arm wrestling training, it's very progressive towards the fighting.
Yeah, because your arm.
Yeah, the arm strength, and the stronger your grip, the harder you punch.
Yeah.
So why not?
Well, it's an idea, bro.
6 months time, Brian Shaw. Watch this back. Watch this back every day.
Watch it back every day.
6 months from now, your arm is going to be like a spaghetti noodle, snapped in half. You have little tears running down your face. Be crying. I'm gonna fuck you up, Brian.
Is that right?
I'm gonna fuck you up.
Okay.
Big time.
It's how you're looking at the camera right now is weird. You realize that?
Fuck you up.
All right. Edward. Snap out of it. Okay, I don't know where we went right there, but that was weird.
Just edit that out, James, and make sure Brian gets a copy of that clip.
Is that okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean you're talking a big game, but like I don't know. I mean, the last time I felt you in the gym, it kind of felt like a limp noodle, you know.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
And I know you've been doing arm wrestling training, Brian, so don't you fucking fool anyone.
I said
I know.
that.
So if I got some training in with my power,
your power.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. This ladies and gentlemen, is when the competitive juices start to flow. Okay. So we start to talk about it, and then you start to get fired up, then I get fired up back, and that's what happens.
And then we take our tops off and we chest bump.
Something like that.
You want to go now?
Okay.
Let's fucking go. I'll fucking beat you with that as well.
Oh my God. Okay. You realize we're in the middle of a podcast, right?
Yeah, calm down, okay?
Yeah, please.
Calm.
Just try to do better with everything. All right. We're having a great conversation, and I don't know what you did with the camera right there, and it just got weird. Okay, that's enough. Okay. What are you doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. Well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I would be more than happy, and I would love to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. With you. I mean, I'll take you in the gym right now and teach you a lesson if we need to. You know.
No, 6 months time.
So you're scared right now.
6 months time.
Are you scared right now?
Well, I don't want to break your arm, so we can't do it in 6 months. So we'll leave it till.
Oh, is that right? That's how you're going to play it?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's interesting, man. It's fun. And actually, I legitimately had a lot of fun watching that match. And the first round, Devin stopped right in the middle.
Oh,
which was Levon's very, very powerful, but they literally stopped like right in the middle. First match it was great, but I think it was one of those things where there's a lot of technique there, right?
Oh yeah,
like people that watch that don't understand any of it. And I had a good time like listening to it get broken down a little bit. But here's the first one, like they just got stopped right in the middle.
Oh wow!
So they're just like locked up right there.
You see, now that's a lot of like tension right in the middle there.
Yeah,
I'd love to get like some kind of measurement of force on that.
Wouldn't that be fascinating? Yeah. So then,
wow.
Devin actually got called for, I believe it's called a King's move. So his humerus dropped below the table. So that's why they stopped it right there, I believe.
Ah, okay.
So,
right.
But
because that's dangerous.
Well, here's the thing. So
for him,
they claim that it's dangerous, and I'm actually fascinated to talk to Devin about this, because I think his stance is, as an arm wrestler, you should be able to get into whatever position that you want to. And if it's dangerous, then you get your arm broke.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, but he obviously felt comfortable going there. And then, I think with the position, probably Levon would have finished him anyway.
Yeah.
But they called him for it. So I really want to like break this down with Devin, because he's got an opinion, I'm sure, just like any high level athlete in any sport would, about different things, right? And rules and what's there. But I think the humerus, I believe, has to stay even with the table,
right? Okay.
So it can't drop below. So if you're in that position, you can't drop below. But that was fun to watch, man. It's like, the power. But again, you're talking about a significant weight difference there. I mean, nearly 400 pounds versus like let's just say he was even 260, would still be 135 pounds different.
Yeah, it's massive.
So it's interesting, man. It's fun. It's fun. But getting him down, getting a few of the other guys down, I'm gonna try to have a good time with it, and then we'll see what you got. I mean, I'm more than welcome to doing that with you. So
let's make it happen, bro.
Yeah, I think you should probably be terrified though. I mean, look at those little forearms, man, on the table. Like,
Brian, don't be deceived.
Don't be deceived.
Don't be deceived.
Okay.
Here's
Here's the
your
thing.
arm.
Will they
Snap.
just snap like that? Okay. That's good.
Like a toothpick.
Did you feel inadequate? Is that why you needed to roll your sleeves up
Not at all.
right now and start flexing? Not just. We're just going to do that for the rest of the time.
I'm not even flexing.
Oh, you're not.
Just my muscles resting positions.
They're jiggling a little bit.
Are they?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know.
No.
Don't need to look at them.
You don't.
I don't need to reassure myself how strong they are, Brian.
Just a significant amount of fat is normally why the jiggle is there. But
we've been over this. We've been over this. You've got the bingo, the old woman bingo arms.
No,
where you wave like bingo, and the flab just goes everywhere.
Yeah. Just to reiterate this to you, I have seen videos of you on a motorcycle where the back of your arm is literally almost hitting the road. Like it's flapping like that.
That's tricep, bro.
I thought you were wearing something. Like I thought you were wearing like a set of wings or something. But it wasn't. It was in fact actually just the back of your arms hanging off. So you should do something about that.
Big triceps. That's what it is, Brian.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It was not great for you. It was not a good look, but also your cheeks were kind of doing the same thing. So cool. Well, I'm glad that I'm glad you're doing well, man.
And you.
Yeah, we're coming back, and I think things will level out here. It's fun to talk competitive stuff, and I think that people find it interesting because I put out a video about the fight being canceled, whatever, but didn't really dive into it deeper, and I think now it's maybe even more interesting for people now that we're a couple months out from it being actually canceled, and you're looking back and saying like, all right, well, here's what it was like, looking at the middle of it. So yeah, it's
we still don't we haven't actually had a definitive answer as to why it was cancelled.
No,
it's just
no.
And one of the guys reached out to me. Did I tell you this? So one of the guys reached out to me. He's like, hey, do you want me to jump on your YouTube channel and we can go over like what a crook this other guy is? And I was like,
one of the two main guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, what the fuck are you on about? I was like, you're just as bad. I was like, look me dead in the eyes on a Zoom and tell me this is happening, and I'll go and train for 6 months. I'll go and make this happen. Yeah. And he did. So I was like, you just need to shut up and fucking move on. Like, I'm not interested in talking about it with another crook.
If I think I know who you're talking about. If it's that guy, he's maybe even more to blame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Because he's the one that did all the initial talking.
Yes. And said over exaggerated figures and whatever else.
Yeah. We don't need to say his name, but it's like that was, I mean, it's honestly disgraceful, man.
It's disgraceful.
Yeah.
And there's no apology. Like 6 months of our life down the drain and like no apology. And that, I don't know, that guy, fuck knows, it just pisses me off. Like he gave me his word. And
he gave me, same thing.
Yeah.
Gave me his word, right? And
if you're not a man of your word,
you're nothing.
You're nothing.
You're nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I believe that. I believe that for sure. Whatever comes out of your mouth better be fact, especially if you're going to say it like that and another man says to you, look me in the eye and tell me this is true.
Yeah.
Right? Now that's a disgraceful thing. But
whatever.
Anyway. Yeah. Bigger and better things, my friend.
Bigger and better things, Brian.
Indeed. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, hope you guys enjoyed that. Give Eddie a little bit of love or don't, whatever. It's completely up to you. But if you enjoyed this, give it a share, because you guys sharing the podcast really helps out with the reach and the growth, and, just one of those things that really appreciate. So hopefully you guys can get that done, and hope you're all doing amazing. For now, going to be great. We'll check you guys later.
Be great.
Be great.
Great.